Hello everyone, welcome back to Let's Learn and I'm Kartika, and if you are new to this channel, please subscribe the channel for more commerce video and don't forget to click the bell icon to get the latest notification. So today's video is about World Trade Organization, that is WTO. Okay, so let's start the video. So what is the World Trade Organization? So first of all we can say World Trade Organization is an international organization that oversees trade among member countries. Okay, second we can say it acts as a forum for government to negotiate trade agreements. It also acts to settle the trade disputes among the countries. Okay, then what is the main aim of World Trade Organization? The main aim is to increase world trade by lowering the trade barriers among the countries in international sale of goods and services, including intellectual property. Okay, so World Trade Organization is an international organization which oversees trade among the member nations. It also acts as a forum of government to negotiate trade agreements. It also helps for the settlement of trade dispute among the different countries. And the World Trade Organization major aim is to increase the trade by lowering trade barriers among the nations. Okay, so this World Trade Organization was established on 1st January 1995 and it is known as the successor of GATT, that is General Agreement on Tariff and Trade. Okay, so now currently there are 159 member countries, and as we all know, India is also a member of WTO. Okay, so this WTO was established in 1st January 1995 and it is headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland. Okay, so this is a briefing about World Trade Organization. So World Trade Organization is an international organization that oversees trade among member nations. It also acts as a forum for government to negotiate trade agreements. It also helps to settle the trade dispute among the member nations. The major aim of World Trade Organization is to increase the world trade by lowering the trade barriers. Okay, and it was established in 1995 and it is known as a successor of GATT. And there are currently 159 member nations, and India is also a member in WTO. And as we all know, WTO is headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland. Okay, so now let's move on to the functions of WTO. So what are the main functions of WTO? First function is that it administers the World Trade Organization agreements and facilitate their operation and implementation. Okay, so there are about like 60 agreements that are signed by the members in WTO and they are known as World Trade Organization Agreement. Okay, so the first function of WTO is to administer these agreements and facilitate the operation and see to it that these agreements are implemented. Okay, second function is to provide forum for trade negotiation. That is, some countries will be keeping some trade barriers which will be affecting the world trade. So WTO acts as a forum and help the nation to negotiate the trade agreements. Okay, that is to lower the barriers. Third one is responsible for settlement of dispute. If there is any issues regarding the trade in between countries, then WTO acts as a settlement dispute. Okay. Fourth one is we can say it provides technical assistance and trading for developing countries. So WTO also helps the developing countries to take part in the world trade by providing them technical assistance and also training. Okay. Then next we can say is cooperates with other international organizations on subject of mutual interest. So WTO also cooperate with other international organizations which is in connection with the world trade. Okay, so the major functions of World Trade Organization is first one to administer, then see to the operation and implementation of the world trade agreements. Second one, to act as a forum for trade negotiation, to help in settlement of trade dispute among different countries. Fourth one, to provide technical assistance and training to the developing countries. And last week, not the least, but we can say cooperates with other international organizations on subject of mutual interest. Okay, is it clear? So if you have any doubt, you can put it in the comment section below. Okay, now let's see the organizational structure of WTO. Okay, so we can classify it into two. First one is the ministerial conference and second is the general council. Okay, so ministerial council is an apex body of WTO for decision making. Okay, so ministerial conference is the apex body of the WTO and it is mainly focusing on decision making. Okay, so this ministerial conference is meet every 2 years. Okay, every 2 years they will be meeting and making decisions. Okay, so it is composed of representatives of all WTO members. Okay, so this ministerial conference will have representatives of all World Trade Organization members. Okay, next we can say it is empowered to make decision in all matters relating to multilateral agreement. So we can say four points under ministerial conference. First one is it is the apex body of WTO. It is mainly for decision making. Third we can say it meets every 2 years and it composed of all the members of WTO. And fourth we can say it is empowered to make decision mainly in multilateral agreements. Clear? The second one is General Council. So what is the General Council? It is a principal body to which day-to-day works of WTO are entrusted with. So, General Council see to the day-to-day works of World Trade Organization. Okay, it is composed of governmental representatives and it acts as a dispute settlement body and trade policy review policy. Okay, trade policy review policy. Okay, so the organizational structure of WTO can be first classified into two as ministerial conference and second one is general council. Ministerial conference is the apex body which is for decision making and it meets every 2 years and it will compose of all representatives of WTO members. Okay. Second one is general council. It focuses on day-to-day works. So we can say it is a principal body of WTO. Okay. So it is composed of the governmental representative and it acts as a dispute settlement body and also trade policy review body. Okay. Now, under this general council, there are three other bodies. Okay. So we classified first the WTO into two as ministerial conference and general council. Now we can again this general council, under that there are three other bodies. First one is the Council for Trade in Goods. So it focuses on the day-to-day trade in goods and settle if any disputes are there in terms of goods. Okay. Then second one is the Council for Trade in Service. So this mainly focuses on service activities. They look after the day-to-day trade in services and also see to the disputes and settle the disputes in the trade in service. Okay. Then there is a Council for Trade related aspect of intellectual property right. Okay. So intellectual property rights will consist of like copyright, patent, trademark, etc. Okay. The next under ministerial conference also there are three bodies. First one is the Committee on Trade and Development. So this committee will be taking major decisions and innovating ideas on trade and development. Second one is Committee on Balance of Payment. So it look after the decision majorly on balance of payment. And the third one is Committee on Budget, Finance and Administration, which look after the major budget, finance and administration involved organization. Okay, so we can classify WTO into two. First one is Ministerial Council Conference and second one is General Council. Okay, and Ministry of Council is divided into three. Okay, first one is to look after trade and development. Second one is to see to the balance of payment. And the third committee is to see to the budget, finance and administration. Okay, and this General Council also divided into three. First one is to look after the trade. Second one is to look after the service. And the third one is to look after the intellectual property. Clear? So that is the organizational structure of WTO and I hope it's clear to you all. Okay. Now moving on. Now let's see the principles of WTO. Okay. So So there are like mainly 6 principles of WTO. First one is non-discrimination, second is reciprocity, third is binding and enforcement committee, fourth is transparency, fifth is single undertaking, and sixth is safety valve. Okay, so let's learn each one of them one by one. So the first principle of WTO is non-discrimination. Okay, so the principle has two components. First one is MFN rule, that is most favored nation rule, and the second one is national treatment policy. Okay, so under this non-discrimination, there are two main rules. First one is most favored nation rule, and second one is national treatment policy. So what are these two rules? Let's find out. So first one is an MFN rule, that is most favored nation rule. Okay, so the MFN rule requires that a World Trade Organization member must apply same condition on all trade with other WTO members. That means one WTO member should not discriminate against the other WTO member on concern with trade or service. Okay, that is stated in MFN rule. That is, there should be no discrimination, like one WTO member should not favor another WTO member. There should be no discrimination between them. Okay, the rules and regulations for all WTO members should be the same. That is the most favored nation rule. Second one is national treatment policy. So what is it? This policy implies that imported goods should be treated no less favorably than domestically produced goods. Okay, this means that if India is importing a good from America, then that American good should be treated equally or not any less than the domestically produced good. Okay, that is stated in the national treatment policy. So this MFN rule and national treatment policy comes under non-discrimination. So the first principle is non-discrimination, which simply means that one WTO member should not discriminate against any other WTO member. Okay, so there should be no discrimination on the basis of trades and service. Clear? The second principle is reciprocity. So what is reciprocity? Reciprocity is an international trait, implies the granting of mutual concern in tariff rates, quotas, or other commercial restrictions. Okay, so the reciprocity further implies that these concessions are neither intended nor expected to be generalized to other countries with which contracting countries have commercial treaties. So reciprocity agreement can be made between individual countries or group of countries. Okay. So in reciprocity, a country or a member country of WTO can grant some concessions in tariff rate or quotas to another country, but it is not generalized. It is a mutual contract between that two countries. Okay. The third one is binding and enforcement committee. So it means that when a country is doing trade, it is a unilateral. Okay, it is concerned with only between that one country and another country. But once the country joins and becomes a member of WTO, it is binded with all the agreements under WTO. So every agreement that a WTO member makes, it is with the group of all countries. That is, the agreement is made with all WTO member countries. Okay, so it is a binding and enforcement committee. That is, one trade agreement made will be applicable on all WTO members. Okay, the next one is transparency. Okay, so if a country is changing their trade policies, they will have to inform the WTO. Okay, because every decision taken by a country should be known to the whole world. Okay, they should be brought to the notice of WTO and they should inform the WTO about these changes. Okay, then the next one is single undertaking. Okay, it means that WTO agreements are under a single undertaking. Okay, it means that a member country while joining WTO cannot choose which all agreement they accept and which all agreement they follow. No, they have to follow all the agreements that are made by WTO. As I told you, there are about 60 agreements made by WTO, and once a country is signing to join in WTO, they have to look into that. They apply this all 60 agreements. They imply all the 60 agreements. They cannot choose a particular agreement and implement that. They have to follow all 60 agreements. That is a simple undertaking. Okay. Then comes safety valves. Sometimes the countries are allowed to take some restrictions, to give some restrictions on goods and services. So that is known as safety valves. Okay. So these are major principles of WTO. So first principle is non-discrimination. Here comes the it means that one member country of WTO cannot discriminate on trade and services to another WTO member. Second one is reciprocity, where some grants can be allowed to the mutual concession, but that is not generalized. Third one is binding and enforcement committee, where we say that the WTO is binded into one and everyone have to accept all the agreements. Fourth one is transparency. When a country is changing any policy in their country, they have to inform the WTO and other member countries. Fifth one is single undertaking. It means that a WTO member cannot join one agreement, but they have to take care of all the WTO agreements. Okay. Next one is safety valves. That is, at some particular time, some countries will be allowed to make some restriction on trade. Okay, so that was known as safety valves. Okay, so I hope it's clear to you all. So the next topic is Doha Development Round. So what is the Doha Development Round? Let's see it. Okay, so the current trade negotiation round of WTO, which commenced in November 2001. So Doha Development Round is a trade negotiation round of World Trade Organization, which was commenced in November 2001. Okay, its objective is to lower the trade barrier around the world. So what was the objective of Doha Development Round? The main objective was to lower the trade barriers around the world. Okay, so it facilitates increased global trade, and it begins with minimized level ministerial level meeting in Doha, Qatar in 2001. So the countries member meet at Doha, Qatar in 2001 to make negotiation discussion on World Trade Organizations, which was commenced in November 2001. So the main objective was to lower the trade barriers around the world, and thus facilitating increased global trade. Okay, but the progress in negotiation start after the breakdown of July 2008 negotiation over disagreement concerning agricultural and industrial tariff and non-tariff barriers. Okay, so in 2008 also they failed to convince every members, and we can say Doha Development Round was a failure, and they are still trying it out to bring up the negotiation. The main people who are in disagreement are the most developed nations such as US, Europe, etc. Okay, so the Doha Ministerial Declaration provided the mandate for negotiation including agriculture, service and intellectual property, which began earlier. But in Doha, ministries also approved a decision on how to address the problems in developing countries face in implementing the current WTO agreement. Okay, since the breakdown of negotiation in 2008, there have been repeated attempts to revive the talks, so far without success. Okay, so Doha Development Round was a current trade negotiation round of WTO, which was commenced in November 2001, where all the country members meet at Doha, Qatar in 2001. And the main objective of Doha Development Round was to lower the trade barriers and increase the global trade. But most of the members were in disagreement, especially the developed countries. So it didn't go well and it failed. So we can say Doha Development Round also failed in 2008 when they tried once more. But now also there have been repeated attempts to revive the talks, but so far there is no success in that. Okay, so that is all about Doha Development Round. Now let's see WTO agreements. Okay, so I told you that there are about like 60 WTO agreements. but we'll be seeing some of the major WTO agreements. Okay. So the basic objective is to raise standard of living, ensuring full employment and large and steadily growing volume of real income, expanding the production and services, etc. These are the major basic objectives of WTO agreement. Okay, so WTO is an agreement are structured for purpose of introducing market economy principle into international trade. So they are creating some economic principle which they are introducing it into international trade. They are using it or applying it into international trade. Okay. So the agreements is on the concept of reducing trade barrier and applying non-discriminatory rule. Okay. So WTO agreement, the basic objective is to raise the standard of living, ensuring full employment, a large and steadily growing volume of real income, expanding production and services, etc. So here they are making some of the principle which they are applying it to the international trade. Okay, so this WTO agreement is the concept of reducing the trade barriers and also applying the non-discriminatory rules. Okay, so here in this box we can see some of the agreements established by WTO. Okay, so there are some agreements which are established mainly for goods, then for services, and then for intellectual property. Okay, so the basic principle, what is the basic principles under WTO is, first one is GATT, that is on good, that is general agreement on trade, tariff and trade. So GATT is mainly focusing on goods. Then comes GATS. This is also general trade on trade and services. Here it is focusing on service. Then comes TRIPS. Okay, this is focusing on intellectual property right. Okay, there are some other additional details, that is there are other goods agreements and accesses, there are service accesses, but nothing on intellectual property. So we can say for intellectual property, the main one is TRIPS. Okay, so there are also market access commitments, that is a country's schedule of commitments, then country's schedule of commitment, that is MFN exemptions are also there under services. Then dispute settlement, there is dispute settlement committee for goods, service and intellectual property. For three of them there is dispute settlement committee. Then transparency, they have trade policy review. So this trade policy review is also for the three, that is for goods, service and intellectual property. Okay, so this is a basic review of a World Trade Organization agreements. Okay, so World Trade Organization agreement focus on three sectors, that is goods, services and intellectual property. So under goods, the major principle is GATT. Then under services, it is GATS, and in intellectual property, it is TRIPS. Okay, and for dispute settlement, there is a dispute settlement body, which is for all three of them, that is for goods, services and intellectual property. And for the transparency, there are trade policy reviews, and that is also for the major three, that is goods, service and intellectual property. Okay, so now let's learn of TRIPS. So what is TRIPS? Trade related aspects of intellectual property. So that is about intellectual property. Okay, so intellectual property refers to creation of mind, such as inventions, literacy, artistic works, etc. Okay, that is about a creative content, that creation of mind. Okay, that is known as an intellectual property. So the intellectual property rights are legally recognized right to such creative minds. So we are giving a credit for those creative minds which are legally recognized. That is known as an intellectual property right. Okay. Under the intellectual property right, it can include copyright, trademarks, geographical indications, industrial designs, patent, etc. Okay. So the agreement requires every member country to maintain high level of intellectual property protection and a system to administer this right. Okay, and there are three main features of TRIPS. First one is standard, second one is enforcement, and third one is dispute settlement. Okay, so this TRIPS was signed by all member countries of WTO on 15th April 1994, and it was effective from 1st January 1995. Okay. So TRIPS is a trade-related aspect of intellectual property. These are agreements on intellectual property. So intellectual property is the creation of mind such as artistic work, invention or literacy. So intellectual property right is a legally recognized right which we are giving to the creation of mind. Okay. So under this only comes patent, copyright, trademarks, etc. Okay. So I hope it's clear to you all. Next one is TRIMS. So what is TRIMS? It is an agreement on trade related investment measures. So it focuses on investment measures. Okay. The objective of TRIPS is to ensure fair treatment of investment in all member countries. Okay. So if a country is investing on something, they are ensuring that there is fair treatment of investment in all member countries of WTO. Okay. So these are rules that are applicable to the domestic regulation a country applies to a foreign investor, often as a part of industrial policy. So this agreement came to force on 1995, and the major features of TRIPS is that first one is abolition of restriction important for foreign capital, because in earlier period there were so much of restrictions on foreign capital. So abolition of such restriction on foreign capital. Second one is offering equal rights to foreign investor on par with domestic investor. Okay. Third one is no restriction on any area of investment. And the fourth one is no limitation or ceiling on the quantum of foreign investment. So these are the main features which are focused in TRIMS. Okay. So TRIMS is trade related investment measures. Okay. So I hope it's clear to you all. Now let's see what is GATS. So GATS is General Agreement on Trade and Services. It mainly focuses on services. So it is a treaty of WTO that entered into force in January 1995 as a result of Uruguay round of negotiation. So it comes under force from Uruguay round of negotiation. It is a treaty was created to the extent of multilateral trading system to service sector. So here the main focus of GATS is to focus on the trade in service sector. Okay. So all the members of WTO are signatories of GATS. That is, all these members are legally binded by the rules and regulations of GATS. Okay. The GATS has two primary objectives. So first objective is to ensure that all signatories are treated equitably while accessing to foreign market. Second, to promote progressive liberalization of trade and service. So GATT is mainly to focus on the service sector trade, and it is the full form is General Agreement on Trade and Services. It was implemented or came force in January 1995 as a result of Uruguay round negotiations. Okay, so there are mainly two objectives of GATT. First one is to ensure that every signed member of WTO is a part of this and they are having equitable when accessing to the foreign market. The second objective is to promote the progressive liberalization of trade and service. Okay, so I hope this GATS is also clear here. Okay, so that's all for today. So we discussed what is the WTO, what are WTO agreements. We also focused on the organizational structure of WTO, and we saw TRIPS, TRIMS and GATS. So I hope you liked the video and it was very useful to you. So if you like the video, give it a big thumbs up and also share this channel to all commerce students you know. And if you have not subscribed yet, please subscribe to Let's Learn for more commerce videos and click the bell icon to get the latest notification as I'm uploading a commerce video on a daily basis. Okay, so please provide your precious feedback about this video under the comment section, and also you can suggest the topics you wish to watch in this channel under the comment section. Okay, so for more commerce videos, keep watching Let's Learn. Thank you.